live onto YouTube. Just get that set up and I'll give it about 1 more minute to let everybody join. Oh, you know what? I forgot a very important, very important step here.
Hey, I was just gonna ask. I was like, oh, here, I'll admit people now. Now I can see, then I can help you admit people.
Yes.
Oh, highly practical.
There we go.
Practical.
We've got a big crowd. Yay. Everyone's saying happy Halloween and hello in the chat. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, we are going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. I hope everyone is having a wonderful start to their Sunday. Just doing the last couple of things here on my screen. All right, I'm focused now. All right, welcome. My name is Valerie, and this is Tarot Unicorns and Coffee, and this is our new moon celebration. It's a celebration, y'all. It's Valerie with Miss Wonderful Robin Poole. So a little bit of info about how these events run. First of all, let me go over the guidelines for all Tarot Unicorns and Coffee events. There are only 2. The first guideline is love and light always in everything you do, love and light. Second thing, don't start no shit, won't be no shit. Y'all know the rules. All right. So with today's event, this is our moon celebration. We like to have fun. We like to get in the celebratory spirit. It's co-hosted by both me and Robin Poole. The way the event works is it started out with me being very beginner and Robin coming in to give expert advice. Robin is a bona fide certified, I don't know if they certify you, but she's a bona fide, real, true astrologer, and she has a wealth and depth of knowledge. And I was just beginning. So I would say I've graduated to intermediate now. So the way we present is we kind of hand off to each other. So first thing I go over like an intermediate kind of beginners, if you're just getting started, more basic explanation of the new moon energies and also the new moon in Scorpio. It's in Scorpio this time energies. And then I hand it over to Robin, and Robin does a presentation where she digs deep, y'all, and she gives us all the information. She covers both tropical, which is what you would consider traditional, and also Sidereal, which I believe is considered Vedic astrology. I don't know. Anyway, she covers both of the charts and she explains the difference between both of the charts so that you know what you're doing on the inside and the outside with the energies. Once we finish discussing the energies, we go back over rituals. So I'll share rituals on what you might do. And the reason why we do rituals is so that you can not just know about these energies, but so that you can find practical ways to work with these energies and invite these energies in to benefit you. So I'll go over some rituals and then Robin will go over some rituals, and then we'll all come back together and do a group meditation to really cement and get those energies to sink in for us. So that's how the presentation runs. We do have moments throughout the presentation where we will pause and allow you to ask questions. So we very much encourage participation. We just ask that you stay muted until we open it for questions. If you have questions while we're speaking, go ahead and pop them in the chat. We do try to keep an eye on the chat. But we do want this to be an opportunity where you can participate and ask questions so that you walk away feeling very informed about how you personally can work with these moon energies. What else did I want to say? Seems like I was going to say something else and it just flew out of my mind. So, Robin, did I cover everything?
I think you did cover everything. I'll just briefly explain that sidereal astrology is just meaning that we're going by the actual position of the stars in the sky. And Vedic astrology does use sidereal positions, but Western astrology can also use sidereal positions. Oh. So it's a little bit like sidereal astrology is just where the planets are against the background of the sky. And then any astrological tradition can use that, or they can use tropical astrology, which I will explain a little bit at the beginning of my presentation.
Love that. Thank you. See, every time we get together, I learn something new. That's why I like our collab. Excellent. All right. Well, I am going to go ahead and start my screen share. One moment, and we'll get right into the presentation. There we go. Perfect. I hope everyone can see that all right. So this is the new moon in Scorpio celebration. Just a note, the new moon does not happen until November 4th. We do our celebrations a little bit earlier, a few days beforehand, so that you can sit with the ideas and the information, gather any items that you might want if you do plan on doing one of the rituals. So that's why we do them a little bit ahead of each moon celebration, and also scheduling wise, it helps us out. So new moon in Scorpio, it is actually on November 4th. The little Halloween decorations for you. So new moon energies, let's talk about that real briefly here. You can think of the darkness of the new moon. So new moons are when they are darkest, or actually we can't really see them, but the new moons is called the dark moon. It's when it's dark. You can think of the darkness of the new moon as being similar to the dark, comforting space of a womb. Try to give y'all different ways to look at this each time we come together. Find the one that resonates most with you. But think of it as being dark. You're in a womb, you're cared for, you're nurtured, you're growing. Just like a newborn in a womb, this can be a period of growth and rebirth. So the new moon gives us a time to turn inwards and reflect on our past month, a chance to decide how we want to grow and what version of ourselves we would like to be reborn as. Perhaps we would like to be a more confident version, a less stressed version, a more abundant version. We get to choose. We get to choose how we're going to emerge and how we're going to reinvent ourselves. So I thought I had one more prompt there at the bottom, but I guess I don't. So here's some ideas that this is just for the new moon, just some ideas that you can ask yourself, just speaking of new moon energies in general, every new moon. This is maybe something that you want to journal about to kind of help you really concentrate and focus on your intentions for this new moon. If you could be reborn, and you can, how would you choose to reemerge? What qualities would you keep? Which ones would you discard? Which experiences would you choose to repeat? Think about if you were actually reborn, walking your life path again. What would you choose to repeat? This journaling could also be part of your new moon ritual if you're a journaler, but that just gives you some thoughts to think about with these new moon energies. Now let's move on to Scorpio energies, because this is the new moon in Scorpio according to the tropical chart. So Scorpio is the element of water. It is a fixed sign. The ruling planets are Mars and Pluto. I'm giving you two because one is traditional and one is more modern, but most places reference both Mars and Pluto. The key phrase, so each one of the 12 zodiac signs has a key phrase which starts with I. Scorpio's is I desire. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. And the key word would be transform. The house ruled by Scorpio is the 8th. That would be in your chart. And the colors, which popped up first, Those are the colors. Those are the most common colors. You can find variations on what colors would be Scorpio colors. Those are the most common colors. They're darker reds, cranberries, very dark colors. And you can see I kind of tried to, there was purple in one of them, dark purple. You can see I kind of tried to make that the background for these slides on Scorpio. So the new moon in Scorpio, what can we look forward to with these energies combined? This new moon in Scorpio gives us a special opportunity to get connected to our intuitive side. So Scorpio season has been said to be a time when the veil between the physical and the spiritual is thinnest. I want to mention that that veil has been said to separate a lot of things: physical, spiritual, conscious, subconscious. What's another one? I don't know, y'all figure it out. But whatever you think is on the other side of that veil, now is the time when you can see it and access it more easily. So perhaps digging deep behind what we've always known, what we've always lived in on this side of the veil, now we have a chance to kind of see beyond our current situation, see beyond our current reality, and see if there's anything beyond our current reality that we would like to pull in from the other side, as it were, that we would like to pull into our current reality and incorporate into our current reality. So digging deep beyond what we've always known to allow for new beliefs or truths to become apparent. Scorpio's ruling planets also contribute to the energies that make Scorpio what it is. So the ruling planets have their own energies and they're exhibiting those energies in the sign of Scorpio. Mars, the traditional ruling planet, is known for outward activities, energy, passions, and sexual desires. Pluto, the modern ruling planet, is known for transformation and intensity. So that's why on that other screen, we talked about desire, I desire being the key phrase. We also talked about the key word being transformation. That's pulling a little bit from Mars and Pluto's energies. So Scorpio is a fixed water sign, and water signs are concerned with figuring out what lies beneath the surface. So water signs are definitely emotional signs, and they enjoy deep and heavy Scorpios enjoy deep and heavy conversations, and they seek to know what people's true intentions are. So they like to dig deep. They like to figure out what is it that makes you tick? What is it that makes this situation the way it is beyond just what you're telling me? What really lies beneath your desires or your actions or your conversations? They love getting deep. They can sometimes be judgmental in their quest to figure other people out, because as they're digging deep and trying to figure out what it is, they're often making their own assumptions about why people do what they do, because that's just how they tick. They're not satisfied with just seeing you do what you do. They need to know why. And sometimes that need or that curiosity can result in being a little bit judgmental about other people and their actions. So you just want to be careful during this Scorpio season that you back up and make sure that you're giving people a chance to explain themselves, and that you're not jumping to conclusions and being too judgmental about what it is that they're doing and why they're doing it. Scorpio rules the 8th house, which is about transformation and other people's money or joint financial matters. So how do we make the most of this new moon and Scorpio energy? You can use this time to rest and reflect. So just like that baby in the womb, just like this dark period where we want to go within, it's a time to rest and reflect. I do want to mention that we have an upcoming eclipse season, which will really shake things up. So make sure you get your rest now. And Robin and I also have a special event on eclipse energies, specifically for eclipse energies, that will help you understand these energies and get prepared for these energies. And I will post a link to that shortly. Just wanted to let you know it's coming up. We're not going to leave y'all hanging. We're going to take care of you. Make sure you understand. So how else can you use these new moon and Scorpio energies? You can meditate, and get clear about what new transformations you want to experience over the next 2 weeks, from this new moon until the full moon, and over the next 6 months, from this new moon in Scorpio until the full moon in Scorpio. Get in touch with your shadow side. Shadow side is your new moon vibe, that dark side, and celebrate your inner truths, which is that Scorpio vibe, inner truths, getting to the bottom of the matter. Shadow work can include rituals, meditations, receiving an intuitive reading. I might know a reader or two, journaling, or whatever method you feel most comfortable with. Choose how you want to be reborn and disallow any energies that do not match this new version of you. So working with a therapist or a mentor or both can help if there are some major transformations that you're trying to accomplish. Let me say that again. If you're trying to make some major transformations in your life, don't just be like, oh, it's a new moon in Scorpio. I'm going to dig into figuring out why I've had this with me since I was 3. I mean, yeah, do with that, but don't just rely on these energies. There's always help. Ask for help if you need it, especially if it means seeing a therapist, if you're working through something deep, or reaching out to a mentor, or working with both. Many people in the spiritual community work with both therapists and mentors and spiritual advisors. So pull in all of your resources. But now I would say, as we do this deep work and this transformative work, it's not just about what we're doing right now. There's also a greater shift. Many of you have felt it globally, where this is not just, oh, I'm going to deal with this and move on. It's, I'm going to deal with this. And as I'm dealing with this, many others are dealing with this. And we are collectively dealing with correcting and getting to the bottom of these things. And collectively, as we deal with this, we're shifting the collective energy. So I want to say that there's a lot more going on than just you. So if you're really feeling these energies more intensely than you ever have in your life, that's okay. A lot of us are. Please seek help if you need it. Commit to your transformation, commitment. Whether it's a big transformation, like you're trying to work through some stuff that's been with you for a long time and make lifestyle changes, or a small transformation, like you just think, I don't know, maybe I'll change my diet, or maybe I'll start a new hobby. The energies of this new moon support transformations. So a couple of other notes for new moon in Scorpio. If you are interested in preparing for the upcoming eclipse season, which I mentioned earlier, be sure to sign up for our eclipse event, which is happening Thursday, November 18th at 4 p.m. Central Time. I'm going to put the link in the chat in just a moment. And if you are interested in speaking with Robin or myself about this transformation or about any transformations that you might be experiencing, we would love to schedule a time to work with you one-on-one, and you can see our links in chat. And that is all I have for you for my presentation. Do we have any questions? I don't see any questions. Give me just a moment, y'all. I'm putting the links in chat, and then if we don't have any questions, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Robin.
Well, welcome everyone to our Scorpio new moon presentation. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, is she going to be talking like this the entire dang time? Well, there's no need to get your britches in a twist, because I'm not. But I just thought I would welcome y'all in Halloween fashion. All right, that's enough of that. Okay, I figure it'd be hard to take me seriously if I just.
I love it. I love it.
I woke up this morning with John Wayne in my head, and I thought I should let him out just a tiny touch, because Scorpio is about letting things out. Yeah. Okay. I see that heart in the chat. Thank you, whoever that came from. Has anybody been having Scorpio-esque experiences? Oh, thank you, Holly. I'm glad you think it's hilarious. I'm gonna whip it out for my niece and nephew tonight, who are 9 and 7. So we'll see what they think about it. Yeah. Has anybody having Scorpio experiences, which are like stuff coming up from the depths, deep things, and you're like, wow, that's quite a thing. Or maybe things are coming up from other people's depths where you're like, I can't believe, oh yeah, we got a few. if you'd like to share, feel free to unmute yourself and do so. I can also launch into my presentation. Scorpio is swirling around us at this time of year, and some people love that, and other people are like, that's not their cup of tea. Crazy, Holly says. Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, hopefully today will help you. I wanted to mention that I always do a Celtic cross tarot reading for our events, just to give me a little bit of an idea of what kind of energies we're looking at. And I wanted to show you, this is not a tarot deck, but it is by Tarot by 7, and it's basically a deck of vintage Halloween images. And this is what I got for our outcome today. This is a woman who is, there we go, looking in the mirror and discovering she has 2 heads. So they did love Halloween back in the day. This image is probably from like 1890 to 1900. Yeah, there's a ton of cool images in this deck. I love this. This is another one I got for our future, which is a boy who is stealing a jack-o'-lantern from a field of very scary looking jack-o'-lanterns. This one's a little later. This is probably 1920. But I really think that these images, they're not tarot cards, so I just read them intuitively. And I really think that these images are very Scorpio-like, because you're going down deep to a world inside of yourself or others that can be kind of scary. This is why Halloween doesn't last all year. But then you come back and you escape from this with newfound knowledge and understanding of what's really going on inside of you, which may require healing and therapy and love. Or it may be like, wow, I didn't know I wanted that, but maybe I could give that a try and really kind of become more closely aligned to your own personal depths. And I want to say that I've been doing this sort of shadow work for really intensively for about 5 years now. And I have a lot of mixed feelings about what I've found. And mainly because it turns out that a lot of what's inside of me really goes against the way that I was raised. And so if you hear my ambivalence, oh, shadow is challenging, oh, this is difficult, I don't want to scare anybody, because I personally struggle with this. This is really hard for me. As much as I love Scorpio, there's a lot of like, this is not the way mom and dad said you should be doing this. This is not the kind of person that your society says you should be. But I don't want to turn anybody off. So please don't read my subliminal subconscious energies as saying that you shouldn't do shadow work, because there's a reason I'm doing it, even though I find it terrifying and overwhelming at times. All right, that's my caveat here. And now I'm going to share my presentation, which I have to warn y'all is very Halloween-y, because if you can't tell by my background, I love Halloween. This has been up for a month and a half, and it will stay up through Christmas. So I do a lot with this energy. Okay. There we go. New moon in Scorpio. Okay, so briefly, the difference between tropical and sidereal energy is that tropical astrology, which is most Western astrology, has the signs aligned with the seasons, because that's the way that they were aligned in the sky 2,000 years ago when astrology was written down. And I think this is totally appropriate, because as humans, we are really strongly influenced by the seasons, and the signs, the qualities of the signs match up with the seasons as we go. But due to a wobble in the Earth's orbit, the sky actually, and then the Earth like lose 1 degree every 72 years. And so now 2,000 years later, they're off by 24 degrees. So if you look in the sky on November 4th, you will not see the moon against the background of the Scorpio constellation. You will see it against the background of the Libra constellation, which is one constellation behind Scorpio. So I think that both tropical and sidereal astrology are really valuable. And I use tropical astrology to describe your inner world, and sidereal to describe its effects in the outer world. If you've ever like tried to do something and then had a completely different effect, you know that the inner world and the outer world don't always match up. But most astrologers only use tropical or only use sidereal. And I want to say that I think that's completely valuable, and you can get a great reading either way. So the fact that I do things slightly differently is not to cast aspersions on anybody else who does things their way. Okay, we are in for a little bit of a rocky ride astrologically. And so I entitled this Wrestling Beauty and Balance from Shadow. So buckle up, because this has the potential to be really transformative and help you make great progress, but there are going to be some bumps in the road. So we'll talk about that. All right, here's our chart. So this is the tropical position up here at the top, 12 degrees Scorpio. And then because we're 24 degrees backwards, the sidereal position, the actual sky, is 18 degrees of Libra. Now, you can kind of see that I have, I should mention this. The first thing is to ask where Scorpio is in your chart. So whatever house Scorpio is in, and the houses are these slices of the pie, and you can see they're numbered around the core. If you get a free copy of your chart online, it will have the houses numbered like this. This house represents where you are most likely to feel these energies in your life. So for me, I have Scorpio in my 9th house, which is about learning, travel, philosophy, and spirituality in terms of like structured aspects of spirituality, like divination or communication from the universe. So my relationship with the divine is definitely getting a lot of upheaval at this point. And then what you can see here, I just have a little blow up area, is that astrology divides the signs into 3 parts, and each of them is ruled by a different planet. And then there's something called Egyptian terms, which is a very old, like 2,000 to 3,000 years old way of dividing up the signs. So what we can see here is that our tropical position of Scorpio is in the term of Mercury, and it's in the decan of Neptune. Neptune is the little thing that looks like a fork here. And then Mercury is looks like a female symbol with the horns. And our sidereal position is in the term of Jupiter, and the decan ruled by Uranus. Jupiter looks like a 4 here, and then Uranus looks like kind of a double radar dish. I always think of James Bond movies with the double radar dish because there are so many villains, which kind of fits because Uranus isn't villainous, but it is always trying to change the world, just like a James Bond villain. Anyway, so we can use these associations of Mercury and Neptune and Jupiter and Uranus to get a better idea of the specific character going beyond the general Scorpio energy or the general Libra energy, which Valerie did a great job. Yay, great job, Valerie, explaining those. All right, but since we're digging deeper, all right, this is the inner world. 12 degrees Scorpio, Neptune and Mercury. And yes, I said it would be very Halloween-y. So now you see this. My husband came home with these candles from the grocery store a couple of years ago, and I'm like, this is genius. Anyway, okay, so deep connection and understanding of self. Neptune is about fantasy, dreams, connecting deeply, and Mercury is about information. What are our taboo dreams and fantasies? What's that stuff that you're like shoving back down, but it keeps wanting to come back up? And what do those say about your true self? Now, I loved what Valerie said about not being judgmental, because we often have received a lot of judgment. And we said to our mom, I want to be a princess. And she said, that's ridiculous. You need a job when you grow up. Or we have this like, I want to be a cat lady and have 10,000 cats. And you're like, how am I going to feed 10,000 cats? But maybe telling you something that actually is practical. I want to be a princess can be about wanting to feel special or beautiful or loved. I want 10,000 cats can be about, I want companionship, or I want to feel like I'm doing something to help the world, or I want to feel more natural connection, right? So don't just shove them away, but that doesn't mean you have to act on them 100% either. What is your true self trying to communicate to you? And then how can we communicate about what is hidden? So Mercury is about information, but you don't want to necessarily talk to the wrong person. Somebody who's going to tell you that you're not a princess, or no way you have 10,000 cats. But it's still important to communicate first to yourself, and then secondarily to somebody who you think might be a sympathetic or helpful audience, so that you can bring out what's inside of you and not send yourself that message, no, we have to hide. No, it's not safe. No, this is weird. No one will accept me. Like judiciously bring out and communicate what's inside of you. And then the outer result of this, we've got Uranus and Jupiter. Jupiter is a planet of great abundance. And as I say, Uranus is always trying to change the world. So what you can expect to achieve as a result of this exploration is that exploration and radical change will help create balance. Libra is about balance and harmony. Harmony between your taboo and your conventional self. So they're not separate. You're not hiding one and then only showing the other one. Bringing up deep truth expands your opportunities. Maybe you don't want 10,000 cats, but maybe you'd like to get some sheets that have a cat print so you can sleep surrounded by cats every night, right? What kind of opportunities are there to increase your abundance by figuring out what your deep truth is? And altering your perspective uncovers the beauty in your shadow. I am like the poster child for this, because when my shadow comes up, I always hear, that's weird. Well, that's not practical. Well, nobody will accept you if you act like a wacko. Like these are messages from my past. And I've really been working with my spirit guides to try to have a more loving perspective. Okay, I just see Elizabeth mentioned in the chat that Scorpio is in her 6th house. So the 6th house governs daily activities, work, daily routines, and also your health. So if you have Scorpio in your 6th house, and I'm just going off the top of my head, first of all, you probably enjoy daily activities that involve getting to the bottom of things. I call Scorpio the private investigator sign. So you might like daily tarot readings or daily meditation, or you might be this person where when people talk to you, you're like, really? Is that really what's going on? Like you habitually are digging for more information. And you also may find Scorpio rules kind of like the hip and groin area. And so you may find that you have some pain there, or you may find that you have physical health issues that are related to deeper issues, and that you really have to dig down and get to the bottom, and not just like, oh, I'm going to take vitamin D and then it's all going to go away. So, and then I saw somebody else said that she had Scorpio in your 1st house. So that means you are the born private investigator for sure. And part of your identity is to help all of us get past our superficial selves. Valerie said that Scorpios can be judgmental, and that's true. And they can also be skeptical and come across as though they're always doubting, but they're not doubting so much as they're doubting that what they've already heard is really the whole story. So if you're a Scorpio, my hint for you is to preface what you say with, I'm not doubting you, but I would love to get more information about this. Or thank you for sharing what you've already shared. Can I ask another question to dig a little deeper? So that people know that you're coming from a place of wanting to help, wanting to learn more, and wanting to understand, and not well, I don't believe what you just said. My dad is a Scorpio also, and he tends to ask every question twice. So like you'll say, yeah, I'm thinking of, writing this book about such and such. And he'll be like, really? Are you sure? And for a long time, I just thought he didn't believe me. Then I learned about astrology and I'm like, oh, that's just the way he is. All right. Anyway, so the point is, So I wanted to talk about the Scorpio Libra dynamic, because I think this is really important and my guides have been telling me about this. So Scorpio is associated with the death card in tarot. And these images are from a tarot deck that I'm designing myself around sort of Halloween and magic themes. And it's not always pretty. Sometimes it's scary. Sometimes it's weird. Sometimes it comes across as doubting. It typically takes extra work because you've got to really dig through. But anybody who knows tarot knows that the death card is not about a permanent death. It's about some things are dying, or you're letting go of some things so that you can transform and be reborn, which is why I put a rabbit in the card here, because rabbits are symbols of fertility and of birth. I also thought this rabbit had a slightly skeptical look on its face, so it fit with the whole Scorpio theme. But then Libra is represented by the Justice card, which is about balance and beauty and harmony. And very often the Scorpio Libra dynamic, oh, thank you, Valerie. She says, I like to call that card the death rebirth card. Yes, exactly. So the point is that a lot of times in Scorpio, you have to kind of travel through an uncomfortable or challenging or difficult land, but you end up in this harmony, balance, finding beauty in your shadow place. So it takes faith and perseverance to be a Scorpio. But the analogy I like to use is that if you, let's say you had a daughter and she fell down on her bike and scraped her knee and it was all dirty and messy with gravel, and you took her to the doctor, if the doctor just like put a Band-Aid on and was like, oh, all pretty, all better, you'd be like, you got to clean out the gravel. You got to wash out that wound. You got to dig in there and get all that muck out, or else that's going to be infected and you're going to have a horrible scar. That's the Scorpio action, is digging in, cleaning out the gravel. And if you've ever taken a kid to the doctor, that situation, you know the tears get worse because it hurts to have that stuff dug out. And you just hold your daughter's hand and you're like, it's going to be okay, sweetie. It's not going to last forever. It's going to heal up so much better as a result. So to have that faith for the journey into the underworld and knowing that this is going to be positive and it is going to work out and it's going to result in healing and harmony and beauty in the end. Okay, that's my sermon on the Scorpio energy. So if we look a little bit more, I should mention, does anybody have any questions they want to ask before we get into the astrology a little bit more deeply? I can't see the chat. Valerie, is there anybody?
No, nothing in chat.
Okay.
I don't see any hands raised.
If we get into what's actually happening in the sky here, we've got some really cool stuff going on. So the moon, as you can see, is on the upper right here. That's the moon. And then this thing that looks like a donut is the sun next to it. So we have an opposition with Uranus and Taurus. Now, Taurus is about comfort. Uranus is about radical change. Scorpio is about getting honest about things that may or may not be pretty. You can see why this is an opposition, because you're going to be digging up deep stuff. And then the Taurus part is going to be like, that's uncomfortable. That doesn't make me feel safe. Well, now I feel weird. Well, now I don't know what to do with this. And Uranus is going to be saying, we need to make major changes. And Taurus is going to be saying, I don't want to make major changes. That doesn't feel safe. That doesn't feel comfortable. So just expect that you're going to have to balance. And if you get stuck in a deep spot and you're bringing things up and things are coming up, take some care to then leave that space and be comfortable and go take a bubble bath, take a walk outside, watch your favorite Netflix show. Okay, thank you, Holly. She said she has to leave for a few minutes. We'll see you later. Yeah, watch your favorite Netflix show, cuddle up in your comfy sweater, talk to a family member who makes you laugh, right? Don't get stuck in the depths, because you're going to have to be balancing the desire for deep information and the need for comfort here. All right, we have a conjunction, which means the planets are next to each other, with Mars. Mars is the male sign up here. And Mars is in its rulership in Scorpio. So Mars rules two signs, Scorpio and Aries. Mars is the warrior planet, among other things. And one way to look at this is that Aries is Mars as the fighter, taking action, getting out on the battlefield, getting sweaty and dirty. And Scorpio is Mars as the spy, subterfuge, deception, digging down deep to get the real information. Oh, Lori's been watching Ghost Hunters on Discovery. Good for you, Lori. We've been watching Pumpkin Wars, which is a Food Network pumpkin carving show. Yeah, so the thing with Mars is this is the getting down deep. And this is one of the best manifestations of Mars. Mars can end up fighting against you. But Mars in Scorpio is fighting for you to help uncover these sorts of energies. But there is a challenge here, which is that Mars is squaring Saturn. Now, Saturn is also in its rulership in Aquarius, which means that Saturn is highly focused on making progress and kind of working for the benefit of society. But the fact that these are 90 degrees apart from each other here is what's called a square in astrology. And it means it's kind of like a bumpy relationship. It's a little bit like a fender bender, where limitations and structure from Mars are going to end up fueling your progress, but you probably will end up reacting against those limitations. So you're digging for your deep truth, and somebody comes along and tells you that that makes you weird or it's uncomfortable. Or you discover some things about yourself, and the next day you get up and you see something on the news that makes you feel like nobody will accept you for this. Like, these social constrictions are going to come in, and you're going to have to say, I don't want to acquiesce to that. I want to react against that. And that will help you understand more about what's really going on with you inside. Now, I wanted to notify you guys about this great astrologer. His name is Matthew Merlin. He does astrological magic, and he has a wonderful article about the Mars-Saturn square if you want more detail about this. I thought this was an amazing article, and I emailed him, and he said he'd be happy for me to share this with you guys. This idea that Mars is the warrior in Aries and it's the spy in Scorpio came from that article. So if you're interested in this, you can go and check it out. His website is Ancient Astrology, and he has tons of other stuff. And if you sign up for his mailing list, he sends you like a 4-email course on astrological magic, which is super cool. Okay, so how are we going to integrate the Scorpio Libra new moon? This is my last slide, and then we'll have time for questions and share.
I need some water. Isn't there a thing of water there?
Okay, I'm going to start talking again. All right, so prepare to expend the energy to understand the depths of yourself and others. This Mars conjunction means you can really dig, but you're going to have to work for it. And remember that everybody else around you is experiencing these deeper energies as well. So you may find surprising things coming out. I had a family member who apologized to me for like the first time in like 20 years. I was like, wow, that was something I didn't expect. Okay, React against the limitations in your quest for understanding. I mentioned that. Connect with what's inside of you to search for deep emotional information. Make use of this Neptune-Mercury conjunction. And don't just be looking for like intellectual information about yourself. You want to look for deep emotional connection. Balance deep work with mitigating discomfort. And then, as Valerie said, we need to understand what's going on inside of us and others in love. And don't judge or shame yourself or others based on what comes up. It's really important to create an open and accepting space. And you can always decide what you want to do with it later, but you may have to work through initial responses that are, this is not cool. There's a reason it's in your depth to begin with, which is that somehow part of you may not have felt comfortable expressing that. And if you want to know more, you got to really create a welcoming space for yourself and for other people. All right, that's my thoughts on the Scorpio Libra new moon. My spirit guides are telling me it's really important for us to support and put energy into digging up what's deep inside of us. Okay. All right. Does anybody have anything they want to share, or has anybody else been experiencing this kind of energies building in these days?
You have a question in chat, Robin.
Yeah.
We're wondering if you can put the link to that Merlin astrology article.
Yes, as soon as I stop sharing and I take down my screen, I will put that in chat for sure. And then at the bottom, by the way, this is my contact information. There's my email, my website. I'm fitfully on Instagram. I haven't been on Instagram very much because I haven't really wanted to do that. But you can always contact me if you have more questions or if you want to know more about Scorpio and Libra in your chart. So yeah, I've been having a lot of stuff coming up lately, but it's been really great. It's been hard, but I feel like I'm making some progress on some deeper parts of myself. All right. Should I take down my slides here? Looks like.
We're good. I'm not seeing any questions.
All right, great. So next, I think we're heading off to, oh, I wanted to mention something. This came up for me last night, which is a tarot reading and an astrology reading are lovely holiday gifts. And if you would like to purchase a tarot or astrology reading for somebody you know, then you can contact Valerie or me, and we will create a gift certificate for you that you can give to a family member or loved one. Okay. All right. And now I will get that link into the chat. Ooh, Lori says she's have a lot of feelings surfacing. Yeah. Scorpio is surfacing season for sure. For sure.
Okay. There was a question in the chat from Elizabeth that I wanted to address real quick. Elizabeth was asking, and then Robin, if you want to chime in as well, but Elizabeth was asking, let me pull up the exact question. Is there a way to tie in her card of the year, which is death, and astrology? And yes, absolutely. There's a couple of different ways. I'm going to give you my favorite, and then maybe if Robin knows of a way, she'll share hers. So the way I like to tie in, and this goes for your card of the year, but it also goes for if you were to just pull a card, it can translate to many situations, but let's stay with your specific question. So your card of the year is death. Just like how Robin gave a very brief example of Mars energy, how it reacts in the sign of Aries versus how it reacts in the sign of Scorpio, it would be the same way with your death card. So imagine yourself as that character, as death. And as you step through these signs astrologically, how do you react? How do you react to, how would death, if death is at the Halloween party, how would death respond if it walks into Aries' house? How would death respond if it walked into Venus's house? Death in the house of love, how would it respond? Would it be more jovial, but still carrying its sickle and ready to take people to the underworld? It would respond a little bit different. So it's like, how would you respond if you were this character, but visiting something else? And that also works in tarot readings. If your first pull is the death card, or if that's your main focus of the card, how would death respond now that you have the Queen of Wands next to it? How do those two have a conversation? So you want to think of yourself as the actual character, and then ask yourself, how would it respond in these different astrological houses? Robin, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, so I think that's a great question. One thing you can do is, like Elizabeth, you said that you have Scorpio in your 6th house. So ask, what would death be doing with its daily activities? Now, we can think about death in terms of like, okay, death is killing people in its daily activities, but you have to think more metaphorically than that, right? Death is about transformation. Death is about letting go. We want to think of the larger kind of meanings of the tarot, of death and tarot. What is it like to have daily activities that have to do with letting go? What is it like to have daily activities that have to do with rebirth and transformation? What is it like to have daily activities that maybe don't look so acceptable by the outside world? Because, you know, there's kind of a natural human reaction in our society to death. Oh, death. Wow. That's a huge thing. I have to tell you that the very first tarot reading I ever did for myself, which I didn't even own a deck at that point, it was online. The card that was your tarot identity was death. And I was like, this is so cool, but this is also kind of weird. What am I going to do? But I'm like, because I love Scorpio and Halloween and everything like that, I think that's really great. But I think it's important to think about having compassion for yourself and also to think creatively about what does that mean for me. The other thing you can do is see if you have any planets in Scorpio and do a tarot card reading for how each one of them affects your life. Another thing you can do if you don't have any planets in Scorpio, or in addition, Scorpio's, Valerie said, is ruled by Pluto and by Mars, which you definitely have somewhere in your chart. So you can figure out, where are Pluto and Mars in my chart? What sign are they in? What house are they in? And what would the death card have to say about them? How are these Mars and Pluto affected by these themes of rebirth and transformation and letting go? That's my quick answer to that. I also think it would be super cool to do a little meditation with Pluto and Mars, which are the rulers of that sign, and ask them what they have to say about the death card in your life and what messages there are for you that this is an important card for you. I also want to address, we have a couple people in the chat who have said that they've been feeling a lot lately and it's been overwhelming and that it's hard to be dealing with these feelings. And I just want to tell you that Scorpio energies are about holding your hand and comforting and supporting you through the process of this feeling. It's not just like ripping the Band-Aid off and uncovering the bloody mess underneath, and this is hard and this is difficult. And that's the way we feel as humans. But you can reach out to the energies of Saturn and Pluto. I mean, Saturn and Pluto, and then Mars in this case, because we have the conjunction, or your divine connection. Or you can say, all right, I'm ready for the strengths of the sign of the Scorpio to support me through this. And then make use of that Uranus and Taurus and ask, how can I change to help myself be more comfortable? Because it's really easy to have an identity like, I don't do well with feelings. I am terrified by my shadow. And those are all experiences. Like, you can feel terrified by your shadow. You can feel overwhelmed by feelings. But you don't need to make them into your identity, because we have so many sources of support, physical sources. You can contact Valerie and me. You can talk to supportive friends and family, but there are also a vast range of metaphysical sources. So your divine connection, your higher self, your spirit guides, your ancestors. We're going to talk about that when I get to my portion of the ritual has to do with this a little bit. So you want to be able to say, okay, this is how things have been for me, but Uranus and Taurus here is supporting me in changing to become more comfortable. And that could be changing in your perspective. Like, I embrace my shadow. I am a strong person. I'm not going to melt from my emotions like the Wicked Witch of the West when she got wet. I am strong. I can do this. Or it may be actually making physical changes. Like, I need to have my favorite stuffed animal with me while I do this scary thing. Literally sitting on my lap. I've had this since I was like 5. Right? Or I need to make my favorite herbal tea, or I need to make sure that I have my bubble bath ready for after I cry. Like, you can become somebody who has strategies and support for dealing with these energies. And the fact that it's overwhelming and the fact that this is coming up, I'm not good at this, is evidence, and is the metaphysical world prompting you that it's time to start making changes. That's my perspective on it anyway. As somebody who's been terrified and thought I was terrible at this and run away from my shadow, I feel like if I can do it, anybody can.
I love that. Robin, I just thought of something while you were talking when the group was kind of all together saying, ah, with the emotions that are going on. The moon is known traditionally to deal with our emotions. It's an emotional planetary object. So the moon is going to have us dealing with emotions too. Water signs, we have 3 water signs. So we have the moon in a water sign. Water signs also deal with emotions. And kind of like Robin was saying earlier, there's each 3 of the water signs deals with those emotions on a different level and in a different way. We happen to be in the one that is dealing with deep emotions. Let's get to the bottom of it. So not the one that's just like, oh, these emotions feel so great, I'm going to wear my emotions on my sleeve and share with everyone how I'm feeling today. Now this one is about digging deep. So y'all might be feeling, and I'm so glad you're here to join in this and figure out, why am I feeling this way? Could it have anything to do with what's going on in the skies? Yes, it could. So don't beat up on yourself so much. And I hope some of what we're sharing today is giving you ways that you can deal with this stuff that's coming up. And just know we're all in this together. So aside from the astronomy holding your hand, Robin and I are here to hold your hand too and try to help you through this. But there's a lot of benefits to these signs too. So it's not all doom and gloom. Go ahead, Robin.
I wanted to mention that one of the things I did today to make myself feel more comfortable is I made myself a pot of apple core tea in my grandmother's favorite teapot.
Oh, I love
Saturn, and I had my tea cozy that I found at the Goodwill outlet, which was lovingly hand embroidered by somebody and then rescued by me. But the point is, I've learned I have to do all these things because I get so terrified by like public speaking. So we all have to find what we need to help us feel less scared. And by the way, your astrology chart can help you figure out how to feel more comfortable. And if you want help with that, you can contact me. I always work on a sliding scale. So no matter what your budget is, I want to help you be more comfortable and learn to work with these emotions.
Does anybody just want to hang out at Robin's house for like a week and see all? I mean, she has the coolest stuff. Apple core tea and a teapot from her grandmother. And I just love it. I love it. I love how everything in your home has significance. That's what I love.
This is my favorite saucer, my tea saucer, which doesn't match the cup, but I found it at Goodwill and I love it because it reminds me of a beautiful, happy land. And I think I want to live in a beautiful, happy land here in my own life. And by the way, and my ancestors are showing up later, Elizabeth. We'll get to them in the ritual.
We love your ancestors. I swear we're going to do an event with just Robin speaking in that voice of her ancestors. That was freaking amazing.
I know. They're great. All right.
All right.
Let Valerie take the show. Let's talk about rituals.
Yeah, we're going to move on to rituals. Yeah, if y'all missed I was about to say if y'all missed the episode, if y'all missed the event where Robin talked in the voice of her ancestors are so insightful and just so cool to hang out with. We're going to have to do that. We're going to have to get that on the calendar. All right, let me share my screen. We'll move on to rituals, new moon and Scorpio rituals for the upcoming new moon on November 4th. Meditate. I'm going to call meditation its own ritual because we are dealing with these deep things that might be hidden by our subconscious or might just be hidden by us. We're trying to get to the bottom of it. Meditation is such a great tool to find a way to peacefully, maybe, hopefully, peacefully get to the source of what we need to get to clean some things out. So meditate. And again, we talked about Scorpio being the sign that called one of the most intuitive signs of the zodiac. It's when the veil is thinner. It's when we have more spiritual insights and intuition. So what a great time to take these deeper insights, this deeper sense of spiritual connection and intuition, using these energies to enhance our meditation. So other ways that we can enhance our meditation are using essential oils. So having that scent present as you go into a meditation. I don't know much about essential oils. I know a little bit to be dangerous. Frankincense essential oil. This comes from an ancient resin that has historic ties to spirituality. So that scent might help you incorporate a deeper connection to your spirituality as you go into meditation. Crystals that might enhance your meditation. Smokey Quartz. Scorpios tend to be sensitive souls that much prefer to bottle up their emotions than to express them. So Smokey Quartz can help you free you from any emotional baggage that you've been holding on to by keeping you grounded. So it's known to enhance psychic abilities, and so it can also aid in helping you to connect with your intuition. Scorpios can be highly self-critical, and when they get down, they get really down. So this crystal helps to pull them back from the jaws of defeat, or any of us. A lot of you are dealing with these Scorpio energies, whether you're a Scorpio or not. The Smokey Quartz can help pull you back by abolishing bad vibes. So it also works as a protection crystal. So abolishing bad vibes and reinvigorating the legendary Scorpio qualities, the ones that are beneficial, the ones that make Scorpios really shine. So Smokey Quartz, just generally, is known to help keep you grounded. It's also known as a protection. Any of the darker crystals are good for protection, but this statement here is how those qualities can work specifically in aiding these Scorpio energies. So essential oils and crystals, use them while you meditate, but meditation would be the ritual. My first ritual that I would share with you is to set time aside to go in meditation. And if you meditate on the new moon with these items present, even better. So a second ritual you might want to try is a new moon bath ritual. Why a bath? Because it's Scorpio. Scorpio is a water sign. Scorpio also, remember we talked about I desire and how Scorpion energy pulls in that sensual, sexual desire side. Well, that's why we're going with the bath ritual. Because it's a water sign, we want to pull in these Scorpio energies in a ritual bath. Scorpio is a sensual sign, and a bath is a great way to indulge and enjoy this sensual pleasure, simple sensual pleasure. Most of us have bathtubs. You know what? Let me just pause and say, I don't agree with these new houses, the way they're constructing these new houses with showers only. What is that all about? They need to have baths. Okay, so for your new moon bath ritual, add frankincense essential oil to the bath, or you can have light scented candles with the frankincense scent or incense burning, just so that you have that frankincense scent in your area, in your bathroom. You could also add Smokey Quartz crystals directly to the bath if you would like. If you don't want the crystals in the bath with you, you can set them along the edge of the bath or somewhere in the bathroom so that you have that energy in the room with you. I do believe Smokey Quartz is okay with being in water, especially for a short period of time. Because it's a quartz, should be fine. Okay, before you actually get into the bath, I want you to set the area, set the scene, and set your intention. Set your intention that this bath will be transformative, that this bath is going to wash away everything that no longer fits you, everything that no longer suits you, any energies that you no longer need. And as you sit and absorb the energies that you do want from the Smokey Quartz, from the oil, from the scent, when you emerge from that bath, you are going to emerge as a transformed person into whatever you are hoping to transform yourself into. So set that intention before you get into the bath. Let this bath be an actual ritual for you. You may also want to meditate while you're in the bath. You can go back and incorporate the meditation ritual with the new bath ritual. And make the room as dark as possible to simulate the new moon, which is a dark moon, and to pull in those new moon vibes. So that's what I have as far as rituals. Any questions? Nope, doesn't look like it. Turning it over to you, Robin.
Okay. I want to mention that if you are in a new house that only has a shower, or if you can't take a bath for some reason, you can give yourself a sponge bath by putting these whatever you're using, the essential oil or the crystals, in the water of just a regular basin, doing your, consecrating or whatever you're doing with that. And then just in a ritual way, wetting a cloth and bathing yourself And so you can kind of have the same experience, or at least a similar experience, whether even if a full immersion bath is not something that's in the cards for you. Sometimes if there are water restrictions and where people are, they may not be able to have a full bath. And we've been having a great talk in the chat about crystals that come up in your dreams, which is so cool. Yeah, several of us have had crystals recommended to us in our dreams. And I wanted to second Smokey Quartz for Scorpio. This is my Smokey Quartz, which is one of my favorite energies. My understanding is that Smokey Quartz is not a self-cleansing crystal, though. So it is good to leave it outside or cleanse it under the moon or under running water periodically if you feel like it's getting congested and full of icky energies that you'd like to get rid of. But yeah, I think it's a safe for water for sure. Okay, that was a great ritual. I love water rituals and bathing rituals of all types. So thank you for presenting that. And my ritual actually has a meditation prompt that goes with it. So even if you don't do my ritual, you can still use my meditation prompt while you are meditating with your bath or other places. Okay. Oh, good. Jillian is confirming that I am correct about clearing Smokey Quartz. Okay. That's great. All right. Back to the whoops, that's the link. I put the link in the chat, by the way, for the article. That's the article on the Saturn square. Okay. All right. So for my ritual, I want to introduce a kind of way of thinking about Scorpio energies that has to do with like the conception of the self, because it has to do with this ritual. But I want to say that this is not the only way of thinking about the conception of self. I only introduce it for the purpose of this ritual. So feel free to take this if it resonates with you, but I'm not meaning to talk over anybody else's way of looking at things. And it's pretty simple because I didn't want to present something that wasn't so simple. So that means it is inevitably overly simplistic when it comes to encompassing the self. There's a lot of other things as well, but hopefully you guys will bear with me and take this in the spirit that it was meant. So one aspect of our self is our actual self, our true self, our deep desires, our natal gifts, those things that you're just born good at, or like, no matter how much you've tried to change such and such, you just always end up coming out this way. And then on the other side of things, we often have a lot of input coming in from others. Our parents are charged with helping us survive to adulthood. So they're constantly telling us what to do and not to do to fit in to our society and to avoid getting hit by a car and, not poison ourselves by eating dirt outside and stuff like that. There are other authority figures like teachers or bosses. And depending on how sensitive you are, you may also feel the pressure of what your society says is appropriate. Now, some people, and you can actually see this in people's astrology charts, are very independent. They're good at shuffling off society. They don't really care what other people say. But other people are kind of naturally wired to be very conscious of the group and to think about group harmony and group dynamics. I am one of those people. And honestly, I criticized myself for a long time for being that way, because people would always be like, well, who cares what everybody else says? And I'm like, well, I care. It seems like it's loving to care what people say. Well, you should just go do your own thing. Well, I don't always feel safe doing that. Like, people have been persecuted minorities for doing their own things. It's not wrong if you are naturally somebody who cares about society. You may be naturally sensitive. And you can see this if you're somebody who's like, but people say I shouldn't. And then somebody's like, what people? And you're like, I don't know. It just seems like people say that, We need people who care about society, because otherwise society would fall apart. So if you are that person, just know that that's a natural impulse for you. And then we also have, I called this guidance. So source, God, your divine connection, your spirit guides, your higher self, something that's not enmeshed in who you are physically in this lifetime, but isn't exactly other people either, but is trying to get you onto the right path. And then we have our executive self, which is trying to make sense of all of these different aspects. Oh, my deep desire is such and such, but my parents said this, but then source is pointing me in a different direction. And now I had a dream and there's a crystal, and should I spend money on this crystal? But mom always said I should save my money. There's this middle of us that's trying to make use of all of these sources of input and reconcile our deep desires with our society's requirements and the need to hold down a job and show up on Monday morning and, that kind of thing. So this particular ritual is really about something called the social mask, which is the mask that we put on that allows us to interact with our regular lives and other people. And it creates space for the inner work of trying to figure everything out. So this is the social mask. Now, a lot of times people kind of poo-poo the mask because they're like, well, people are so fake. Will you say, how are you doing? And everybody just says, I'm fine. And then people are lying because they're not really fine. And that's true. You don't want to hide behind the social mask forever. It is important to come out and be honest about what's really going on with you. But the social mask is important in some places because you might not be ready to come out yet. You might not have figured out what you're talking about. You might still be in the depths of all of this emotion, but you still got to show up at work on Monday morning at 9 a.m. and get your job done. You can't be in a ball of tears at work on Monday morning at 9 a.m. But it is important to be able to distinguish the social mask from what's going on inside of people. And this is really important because empaths and sensitive people and people with psychic abilities often perceive the inner work bleeding through the social mask. People say they're fine, but we kind of sense that they're not. And a lot of times we have trouble making sense of what's really going on with somebody. So this ritual is for the ability to separate your own and somebody else's social mask from the inner drama that's going on. And I want to say that this idea, not the ritual, but the idea about the need to separate came from this book called Managing Psychic Abilities by Mary Mueller-Schuton, which is a really great book if you're somebody who's picking up things from people or you have weird dreams coming through and you're not sure how you feel about that, or you have a lot of random health problems as a result. I don't agree with everything in this book, but I think there are a lot of really thought-provoking and helpful ideas to help you understand what's going on. And I realize that a lot of my drama over the years has come from picking up other people's uncomfortableness, anger, frustration, difficulties, and thinking that it was aimed at me because I didn't realize that actually this is just what was going on inside of them and it wasn't really about me. So separating the social mask from the inner drama is really crucial if you're constantly picking up stuff from people or energies in general, because it allows you to take somebody at what they are trying to present, even if they've got other stuff going on that doesn't have anything to do with you. Okay, so here's the ritual. So this is the chart. It's the same chart from before, but I just reoriented it so that the triangle was pointing vertically. Now, what we're going to do is make use of this Mars-Saturn square to help the structure of Saturn and the rulership spy qualities of Mars increase our ability to distinguish between somebody's social mask and what's going on inside of them. So this was my setup. And what you can see I've done here is I've arranged my 3 candles, which are Scorpio candles, because those are the cool skull and pumpkin candles my husband came home with from the grocery store. The back one is just propped up on a glass to raise it. But you can see that I'm trying to create the same triangle because I'm asking for these energies to be used to help me. This is about as positive as the Mars-Saturn square can get because they're both in their rulership, which means they both are really constructive energies. So I felt like this was a golden opportunity that I didn't want to let pass me by. Okay, so then in the middle here, I decided that because the veil is thin and I love my ancestors, I wanted to bring in an ancestor to help me with this. So since I'm working with my Scottish witch ancestors, I chose this card from the Green Witch Tarot deck, which seemed like the thing that my Scottish witch ancestors might have been doing back in the day. You could totally use a picture of an ancestor. You could use an object that belonged to an ancestor. You don't have to channel your ancestors if you don't want to. You can just ask your higher self or divine connection to help you be inspired by the energy of your ancestor. Not everybody is comfortable with channeling, and I totally get that. And then you might notice I have a piece of Halloween candy at the bottom of this. This I picked up at my nephew's birthday party last weekend, and it is a Hershey bar, and it has a tombstone that said Poltergeist on it. That's the name on the tombstone. But I since I love Halloween so much, I wanted to incorporate some Halloween candy into my ritual. I have some suggestions if you don't like Halloween candy. Okay. All right. Are there any questions so far, or should I keep going with what happens next? We're good? Okay. All right. So then what I did is I made myself a bracelet. And this bracelet has snowflake obsidian, and black banded agate. And these are both stones that are Scorpio and also relate to Saturn. You can see I used the red for Mars. They're crystals. Thank you, Elizabeth. She said my bracelet was beautiful. And it's really easy. I was thinking that if you guys are interested, we could actually have a class on making astrological jewelry, which can be super simple. You don't need super skills to do this. But the reason that this bracelet is important is that all of the stones touch my skin when I wear it. And a lot of jewelry is beautiful and it might have the right crystals in it, but I feel like it's more impactful for me if it has stones on it. And there are stones with bracelets with stones out there, but my experience with them is they tend to have like 20 stones on them. And I just find that to be personally kind of overwhelming. Less energy is better for me. So I use fewer stones, and then I use a bunch of neutral things like crystals and glass beads and stuff like that, which doesn't have such strong energy. All right, so I made this bracelet, which I will wear throughout this whole conjunction, which lasts, by the way, till November 19th, I think. And then I added the bracelet in to the ritual area. Okay, so here's the ritual, which I'm going to do when it comes to the full moon. I add my charged item. That was my bracelet, but you could use any piece of jewelry that you wanted to, or an object you could put on your desk or something you could carry in your pocket. I'm going to light the candles. I'm going to ask the energies of Mars and Saturn to help me have this ability to separate the social mask from inner work, both for myself and for the people that I'm talking to. And then I'm going to eat my Halloween candy and give thanks to any energies that are helping me with this. And I do have some suggestions here at the bottom. If you do not want to eat Halloween candy, or you're on a no sugar diet or whatever, these are a bunch of other foods that are all associated with Scorpio. So you could like do some, ginger tea. You could put a little bit of vanilla creamer in your coffee, right? Obviously we can be creative in terms of how you want to do that. And then here is the meditation or journaling prompt. What social limitation do I want to react against? And what practical step or steps can I take? So if you're feeling like, I'm not good with feelings because feelings are scary. So where did that social idea come from that feelings are scary and you are not strong enough to stand up against them? People are going to think I'm weird. Okay, I'm going to find somebody to be honest with about what's going on with me, even though I'm worried people are going to think I'm weird. Well, what's best buried is best left buried, and it should just stay buried. So I'm not going to dig it back up. Okay, well, somebody told you that, but that only applies to the bodies of people who are deceased. When it comes to yourself, it's important to dig things up to figure out, is this an important aspect for you to be working on? So give some thought, and you can ask the energies of Mars and Saturn or your ancestors or whoever is helping you to bring something to mind that's a practical step that you can take to really bring these energies into your life. I can see several people said they liked a class on jewelry. I love jewelry, and Valerie's a jewelry artist too, so we might do that. Does anybody have anything that they want to share? How is this landing with you guys? Do you feel like this is helpful or too complicated, or do you have questions about how to implement it? Elizabeth looks like she's got her hand up there.
I was just going to say thank you so much, both of you, for all of the work that you put into the rituals and the options. And I have been doing them monthly. And I just wanted to say that I have experienced positive change as a result of them. And I was especially tickled by the last one, where we drew the oracle cards and then tossed the charms on top. And I wanted to share, I immediately, sat down and, what am I going to work on? What am I going to work on? What should I set my intentions on? And I got my oracle deck and I shuffled, and I got a card that said, take a break. And I was like, what? I'm ready to manifest everything. I don't want to take any breaks right now. But that's what it was calling me to do. So when I rolled the die, I got like the number 3, and I decided that I was going to take 3 mindful breaks away from the house, out in nature, out doing something that I always wanted to do. And the last time that I did, I had a transformative experience. I went to a town that's here in Florida. And it's, I don't know, they say it's famous. I don't know if anyone has ever heard of it. It's called Casadega. It's supposed to be like the psychic capital, you know, and always heard about it, always wanted to go, never did, but I decided that I was going to go and I was going to visit the place. And I went with a group, and it was a large group. And apparently we needed permission before visiting this town because it's a community, a spiritual community. And so in essence, they approached us and asked us kindly to please leave. And I was immediately like my inner child. I felt shame and humiliation beyond anything that I could express. I'd been living in Florida for 30 years, always wanted to go. I was finally there. I was looking forward to walking around all the crystal shops and, you know, possibly even getting a psychic reading from somebody, or I don't know, just kind of going with the flow and seeing wherever the day would take me. And so I found myself in my car thinking, I can't believe I'm gonna turn around now and drive home. And after I drove over an hour to get here, I got in my car to leave, and I don't know, like out of the corner of my eye, as I'm passing the main center, I saw an empty parking spot, and I don't know what possessed me. I just pulled right back into the parking spot, and I was like, no, I'm not leaving without going in. Like that was my intention. I wanted to come in. I wanted to visit and discover the place. That it's open to people. It's open from you know, dusk till dawn, or yeah, it's open. So I pulled in and I walked right back into the store, and I walked around and I bought myself a crystal because I wanted to remember that time that I pulled out my inner Leo and went right back into the store. And then I got in the car and I drove home, and I felt so much better. And I would never have had that experience if it wasn't for this ritual that you know, dreamed up for us last month. So I just, long way to tell you, thank you.
Wow. I feel like kind of choked. I don't know about you, Val. I feel kind of choked up inside. That's like such a beautiful story. And it's so validating for the work that we put in. And I mean, like, that's what I had hoped, obviously, is that this would be something that's transformative. And I really thank you for taking time to tell the story, and congratulations on having such a transformative experience when you followed your own inner desires there. And I'm so happy to hear you embrace your inner Leo and say, no, I want this. I don't have to follow the rules. I don't have to feel shame. I don't have to be that sad child who, you know, took the scolding and walked away with your head down. I think that's just beautiful. And I wanted to say thank you to the people in the chat who've said positive things about our ritual today. And your positive, your encouragement means a lot to us because we do put in effort, and just to know that is helping people and making a difference is really great. I feel really good about that. Happy Halloween to you guys. Okay.
I want to say a special thank you to Elizabeth too. I'm so glad you shared that story. And I know you see me see us doing the moon rituals and the other events and the card pulls and all the things that you see us doing. But I want to say, I only go into this overall, my big picture. When I ask myself, how can I help people? I ask myself, how can I empower people? How can I empower people to live their best self, to not be shushed by society or by other things? And Elizabeth, that's the best example of living your best life as I've ever seen. And so that just makes my heart so happy that some of what I'm doing is having like a positive effect on people's lives. So I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing.
Right. So, yeah. Does anybody else have? You're welcome, Tracy and Jillian and all the people who've thanked us in the chat. We really appreciate that. We got a few more things coming up. Does anybody else have anything that they want to share?
Before we do the meditation?
Yeah, because I talked to my ancestors. Oh. And I thought I'd bring back what they said to me about the social mask, which I thought was really thought-provoking. So this is I got a reading from somebody once, and she mentioned that I had ancestors on my Scottish side who were witches. And a couple of rituals ago, I ended up talking to them as part of what was recommended. Elizabeth got recommended take a break. I got recommended talk to your ancestors. And I was like, okay, not really sure what this means. But I came through these Scottish witches who have a really just very interesting perspective. And they seem to be living in what we now call Scotland in something like 1,000 or maybe like 1,200. They're kind of early. They'd never heard of the United States before. But I went to them and I asked them what they thought about this social mask idea. And this is what they said to me. They said, don't be poo-pooing the idea of a social mask. You need one of those yourself. And I was like, why do I need a social mask? And she was like, you don't want to give away all your power to others, do you? And I was like, no, but how would not having a social mask like give away my power to others? And she said, her name's Eliza. Eliza said, there's multiples of them, but this is the only one that actually really talks to me, is Eliza. And she said, well, if I have to tell you that talking to the wrong people takes away your confidence and your ability, then there's not much hope for you, is there? I was like, oh. She's like, if you talk to the wrong people and they tell you you cannot do it, well, that's not helping you. But a real witch knows which is which is the social mask, and which is the deeper truth beneath. That's what you need to figure out. So that was Eliza, the Scottish witch's take on the social mask, which is we all need one. And it's protective for us, but you just want to make sure you know the difference in yourself and then in others, and then be aware. I think if you're picking up people, especially if you pick up that people are distressed, it's very natural to want to help them, right? That's part of why we're here, is that we, as Valerie said, we want love and light. We want to be positive forces, but you may be approaching somebody who's not in a place where they're ready to talk about it, either because internally they're not ready to talk about it, or because they're literally in a place like they're at work and they're like, this is not where I need to burst into tears about my, daughter who just came home with this crazy boyfriend, whatever their whole story is. And so I think for me, I've learned to send people positive, comforting, healing energy, even if I'm not actually talking to them about it, but not to take the responsibility for having to like dive in and fix everybody else's problems all the time. Knowing that when they're ready to work on their inner drama, I just ask Spirit that the opportunity will be there and that I'll be in a good spot for that as well. So thinking about the utility of the social mask and how we can make it work for us and not against us.
I love that.
Yeah. Okay.
I would love for you to be able to channel Eliza and just have a live event where people can ask Eliza questions. That would be awesome.
I think we should think about that. I'll have to make sure that's okay with her.
Right. Okay, everyone. Thank you. Let me check the chat real quick and make sure we don't have any other questions. I'm so glad so some of you, I just noticed this. Some of you, this is your first time on a moon event. And I just noticed as I was muted, I was doing this a lot. And I'm just like, oh, I didn't tell the people. That's from another group I'm in. That's how we show appreciation or show that, yes, we're agreeing with what's being said. It's how the non-hearing people applaud. So that's what I've been doing. If y'all are like, what is she doing? That's what I've been doing. All right. We are going to get into the meditation portion of this event. So get yourself comfortable. And this meditation is going to help you incorporate these new moon and Scorpio energies. Now, before we go into the meditation, I'm going to ask you to find something in your life that you're going to kind of bring back, that you're going to bring into the meditation as we get deeper into it. So we know Scorpio likes to dig and get to the bottom of things. And we also know that we're going to use this energy to transform. So I want you to think of something in your life that you would like to transform. So maybe you want to transform your fear of mice. I have a phobia against mice. Maybe you want to transform your fear of mice. What I want you to think of is, when was the first time you had this fear? If you can pinpoint when was the first time you had this fear, I just want you to think about that. Maybe you want to transform your fear or your lack of abundance. Can you think back to when the first time you had that thought? For me, it was when my parents used to always say money doesn't grow on trees, which I would always argue, yes, it does, because money is made out of paper and a tree is paper. And my parents did not like that response. But I know where those feelings started. If you can pinpoint where those feelings started, I just want you to kind of focus there. What do you want to transform? And if you can remember, when was the first time you had those feelings that you're trying to let go of or release? Now, if you can't identify when the first time was, if you're like, well, I've just always been this way, or I don't know where it came from, that's fine. We're going to ask your guides to help you figure out where it came from. So just have that in mind. What you want to transform, and when did you first start feeling that way about it? So go ahead and get comfortable, and we're going to get into the meditation. Turn your camera off, close your eyes, do whatever feels comfortable for you. And start by relaxing where you are, getting yourself comfortable. Seeing something. Okay, I'm showing everyone muted. I'm sorry, but I'm hearing noise. Okay, getting yourself comfortable. And we're going to start by taking a couple of very deep breaths and settling in, relaxing your muscles. I want you to really relax your entire body. Drop your shoulders, unclench your jaw, relax your eyes, and continue breathing deeply, slowly in and out, focusing on your breath. Now I want you to picture yourself on a beach near the ocean, right at the water's edge. And it's nighttime, and it's dark. We're on the night of a new moon when the skies are the darkest. Tonight, we're going to go for a swim. Go ahead and slowly walk into the water and begin swimming out into the ocean. The water is the perfect temperature. You feel very relaxed. Just feel the water around you. Now we're going to go for a dive. We want to see what's beneath the surface of the water. You hold your breath and you go down, pushing yourself down, swimming further down. You notice that you can now breathe underwater on this magical night. And so you decide that now you can go even deeper. The further away from the surface, the darker it gets. You can no longer really see what's around you. You decide to go even deeper. You've been swimming for quite a while. And you notice in the distance, even further down, a small glowing light. The only source of light in these dark, dark waters. Focus your attention and swim towards the light. You have to swim even deeper. That light appears to be sitting on the floor of the ocean. As you get closer, that small light gets bigger and brighter. Now you're almost there. And you see that this small light now has a form. It looks like a dome sitting on the floor of the ocean. You can see that it's an encasement. And you can also see a door. Swim to the door. Open the door. And as you go inside, this room, this small dome is filled with air, and you can now walk across the ocean floor. Close the door behind you. At the bottom of this deep, dark ocean, you're now encased in this bright, shining room. In this room, there's someone that wants to speak to you. You came down this far for transformation. Maybe your spirit guide is here to help you transform. Or perhaps a younger version of yourself. Whoever is standing in front of you is going to help you understand why and when you first started believing in that thing that you now want to transform and release. I want you to have a conversation with this being so that you can understand where these beliefs came from and so that you can let them go. Give you a few moments to get the answers that you seek. After you've talked with them for a while, you now understand where these beliefs first started and where they came from. And now this being is giving you the opportunity, if you would like, to leave those beliefs behind. You can hand them over to them, and they will take them from you and transform them for you. And if you choose, when you hand them over, you yourself will be transformed, as you will no longer need to carry these things with you. Make your decision and hand them over if you so choose. If you have decided to let go of these beliefs, you're now feeling much lighter. You're thanking the being for explaining where they started and for removing them from yourself. Say goodbye for this being. Walk towards the door. And you're going to go ahead and open the door and leave this dome of light. And now that you're feeling much lighter, as you make your way back up to the surface of the water, it's very easy for you to find your way back up, even though it's still dark. As you get to the surface of the water, you slowly swim back over to shore. And as you leave the water and step out, back onto the beach, back onto the shore, you feel as if you have truly been transformed. You feel like a newer, lighter version of yourself. Take a couple of deep breaths. I want you to really feel what this newer version of yourself feels like, so that as you return to your day-to-day life, you can find this feeling again, this feeling of lightness, this feeling of transformation. Take a few more deep breaths. You're going to return to the room when you feel comfortable. Stretch, wiggle your toes, open your eyes. All right. Welcome back. Okay. So that was supposed to demonstrate that sometimes we have to dig deep and go into darkness, where sometimes we feel as if we're drowning and we can't breathe and we don't know what's coming next. But if we keep going to uncover where these ideas and where these beliefs come from, we will find the light. And there will always be someone there in the light to help us through this. So we just have to trust. There's a purpose for why we do this shadow work, and there's always help. All right, anybody have anything to share or any questions? Doesn't look like it. Awesome. Okay.
I can share if there's time. Do we have time for that?
Yeah, we have a few minutes.
A little bit. So I went down and actually we ended up continuing a conversation I was having last night with one of my spirit guides. And it was one of my family members who was basically apologizing and saying that this person never wanted me to feel like who I was wasn't valuable. And I looked at my spirit guide who was there and I'm like, have you been talking to this person? And my spirit guide was like, well, last night after you fell asleep, we talked a little bit more. And so I just want to share that this is something that's happened to me a couple of times where my spirit guides have actually gone to speak to people, because a lot of times people say, well, if somebody's toxic for you, just cut them off. And sometimes you can do that. Sometimes you can say, I don't need this person in my life. That's the end of that. But there are times when you can't successfully do that, or you just don't want to because this person is important to you. even if they're difficult sometimes. And I think we can use our spirit guides not just to help us, but to talk to other people or to talk to other people's spirit guides. And again, you just have to ask if it's for their highest good. This is not a method of controlling people or altering their behavior so that they somehow become the person you want them to be. But I think that our metaphysical partners can talk to each other. And that's just a suggestion. If you're having trouble with somebody, but you really don't want to let go of this relationship, or it's not practical to do so.
Love that. Thank you.
Yep. And then the other thing that they said, I'm like, I want to give over these emotions and beliefs, but I'm really scared to do it. And so I asked my spirit guide to help nurture and soothe the scared emotions. And what they said is they're like, we can come back and give over these emotions as many times as you want. This is not a one-time only. You can give it over all now, but if you find you've taken some of it back, just come back and give over again. And it's okay if it's a process and if it's something ongoing.
Yes. Just to add to that, it's always been a process for me. There has not been a single moment when I've just been like, oh, I'm going to give this over, this deep shadow work, and it's done. And now everything in my life is healed. That's not how it works for me. If that's y'all's experience, more power to you. But it's a repetitive cycle of continuing to realize I can give it over. And how do I give it over? And I keep doing it. And each time when I do go to take it back, I take back less and I take back less until I do get to that point to where all I'm taking back is this much. Because I don't think we ever take back zero, because then we would be dead. So keep doing the work. It gets easier. That's my suggestion. Just checking the chat real quick. Oh, 2 beliefs that you had to address because they were formed at the same time. I see that in the chat. And you were able to see your truth in them and see that it wasn't yours. I love that. Yes. Yes, there's so much of the shit in our life that when we get to the bottom of it, we realize, oh, wait, this was never me. This was never what I thought. I love it. I love it when we can identify that, because then it's so much easier to work through when we realize where it came from. Okay, well, it looks like we're going to wrap up just a little bit early, but I do want to let you guys know what's coming up. Okay, I'm going to say it again because I'm being led to say it again because some of y'all are just as hard-headed as I am. When you're dealing with these deep emotions, ask for help. Help is available in spirit form. Help is available by your friends. Help is available in these events. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Scorpio is asking you to dig deep, and digging deep is often uncomfortable. So please feel free to ask for help, ask for help, ask for help. With that being said, I'm going to move on and talk about even more crazy shit that's going on up in the sky. We have eclipse season coming up, and we are doing an eclipse energy. I'm just going to sum it up by saying eclipse energy likes to shake shit up. If y'all haven't been shook it up enough, if y'all are not shooketh yet at the end of 2021, 2021 is going out with a bang, and it's going to shake things up even more. If you would like to know how to deal with these energies or what to look forward to with these energies, Robin and I are doing an event specifically on eclipse energy. Also coming up in December, which is not on the calendar yet, but I just want to drop some hints and get y'all used to it. Robin is doing a special event on how to work with, I'm going to say it wrong. I'm going to let Robin talk in just a minute, and how to work with 3rd and 9th house energies. It's an amazing event, but this is an opportunity for you to look into your specific chart to figure out how this is going to apply for you. I am going to let Robin explain it much better in just a minute, but I want to let you know now, there are going to be, should I tell him now? I'm going to tell him now. We're going to figure it out. There are going to be, during the reading, a chance to get a mini reading from the lovely, amazing, a mini natal chart reading specific to the topic from Robin during the event. There are going to be only 4 spaces because that's the only time constraints for the event. And you'll receive approximately a 10-minute mini reading, which is amazing. And the cost is going to be very, very affordable. If you would like to get in line for one of those readings, even though I haven't even told y'all what the reading is about, you can do so by emailing Robin. There are only 4 spots. I'm pretty sure by the end of this event, all of those 4 spots are going to be taken, and we will get back to you on how you can pay for a spot. And then I'm going to have to go rewrite the description on the event. I probably should have just waited, but I don't care. I'm excited. Anyway, So I didn't even know Ari was going to join. And I already had this queued up because I felt it tied in really well with what we talked about, where I said, if you need help, go get help. Well, guess who's giving y'all mini readings today? Our own lovely Ari. And there's Ari's event. It's a pop-up event. She didn't even know. I didn't even know she was going to be here, but I already had that queued up because I was like, where can people get readings? Oh, look, Ari, see Source. Y'all, Source is working behind the scenes to line everything up. So everybody in this group who was saying, I'm dealing with some tough shit. Now I will tell you, it's a mini reading, but maybe it's just the help you need today to just kind of focus you and get you reset. So go ahead and join Ari's event, which is going to start in about an hour after this one ends. So you'll have a chance to get a snack, get a drink. And then I'm going to turn it over to Robin, who is going to do a better job of explaining what's coming up for December.
I thought you did a great job.
Oh, well, good.
What it lacked in detail, which I will supply, it more than made up for in enthusiasm and positivity, which is part of it. Anyway.
I got that.
You did a great job. Everything you said was completely true. I'll just add that the eclipse event is going to be talking about the upcoming eclipses. But what it's really doing is giving you, the viewer, the ability to look at any eclipse going forward and figure out how that is going to affect you. And you don't have to know anything about astrology for these things because I'm going to make it super simple. I have a bunch of keyword tables that boil it down. So if you know a lot about astrology, hopefully you'll find some new things. We're going to be looking at some classical astrology techniques that most modern astrologers don't know. But if you're an astrology newbie, it should be something that you can definitely follow. And then the 3rd and 9th house event, the 3rd and 9th houses are the place in our chart where the universe's messages come into us through the 9th house. And then the 3rd house is how we make sense of those. So if we're doing rituals or divination or meditation. And so looking at the planets and the sign, and then the ruler of that sign can give you some idea of how the universe, source, spirit, your higher self is communicating with you. Like, why am I so obsessed by objects, right? I've got my saucer, I've got my teacup, I've got my thing. Well, I have Taurus in the 3rd house, and Taurus is the sign that has to do with physical possessions. So I use my physical possessions to make sense of these messages from the universe, which is why when I go to Goodwill and I get a dish like this is the universe telling me you've got to create your own happy fairy tale land in this physical universe. So if you ever have those messages and you're like, I found a feather. Is this a message for me? What am I supposed to do about that? Why am I so obsessed by cats? I think I'm losing my mind. I'm hearing voices. Yeah. Why am I obsessed by sparkly unicorns? Right. Looking at your 3rd and 9th house can give you information about what kind of messages you're getting and what you can do to make sense of those, because you're probably not losing your mind. You're just having the normal human experience of communicating with spirit, which was normal for thousands of years until 200 years ago when they decided that meant that something was wrong with you. But it doesn't mean that. But it is nice to have some hints for that. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And I wanted to mention, by the way, I have supplies to make about 4 more of these bracelets. So I'm selling them, and it's a sliding scale depending on your budget. If you're interested in some therapeutic astrology jewelry, you can send me an email and we will talk about doing this. I have a tiny wrist, which is why this is so small, but I can make them bigger for bigger wrists.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm going to drop Robin's email in the chat one more time. I'm going to say, y'all, I got real excited. And then I thought through it. There is no way for Robin to take names and take money, and I'll figure all of that out before the event. Wait till the event's posted. Okay. Just wait till the event's posted. My bad. I get so excited. Wait until the event's posted, then y'all can reserve your spot. The spots are only going to be $10 though. So y'all going to have to jump on it as soon as you see it posted. It will take place in December. And if you are not one of the first 4 to respond, Robin has said that she will still extend that opportunity to give you a mini reading, just won't be during the live event. So, all right. It looks like we got to wrap up a little bit early today. Do we have any comments or anything else that you guys would like to see us cover in these moon celebrations, or y'all good? Y'all good? Y'all good. All right.
We should mention that coming up, we have Taurus and Sagittarius moons.
Yes, Sagittarius. Yeah, this started last year when we had an eclipse during a Sagittarius, And me and Trudy were like, we got to do an event. And that's what started it. That's how these events were born. So yay, coming full circle. All right. Thank you all so, so much. Hopefully I will see some of you in Aries event in about an hour. Otherwise, have a wonderful time. Gather your information and have a wonderful new moon on the 4th. Nope. Yeah, new moon. I almost said full moon. New moon on the 4th.
And don't forget, happy Halloween.
And happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.